Now, outline the ways. This is part B, right? How are we going for time? Okay. Outline the ways in which database systems are central to the function of Worldport. Okay. Now, you need to mention, well, why databases? Why would they use a database? Well, for a very good reason, because the data is very highly structured. They know the same kinds of things about all of the packages, and they can know it with a high degree of consistency, right? So that's what we mean by highly structured. Okay, we know a destination, we know the source, we know and so on and so on and so on. Right? So these here, I'm actually referring to, I'm using my previous answer. I'm using the databases from here, right, as the framework, my skeleton, for my answer to part B. Okay? So if you didn't know the database as well, you'd invariably struggle in part B. Okay? But even if you got that wrong, you still could have worked them out from the article. Okay? Right, so I was looking for specific mention of those databases. Right, part C, how are we going? Over the page. Explain ways in which this company currently uses decision support systems. That's the first bit. And how could they further improve the efficiency with new decision support systems? Okay? So, some of you had some trouble with this because you mixed up what were the decision support systems and what were people, right? As a person, I'm not a decision support system. I'm a person, right? So, decision support systems are electronic systems which help the humans, right? So what's already there? I'd probably say the two that I thought of were the zip code recognition system, right? Takes a photo and there's a decision that has to be made, right? What zip code is to say, right? So a system is brought in to automatically do that. That's where the DSS is, right? Now you could probably also say that path, working out how do I get from A to B, the plane where I arrived and the plane where I'm going to depart, you probably could say there's a decision support system there to work out the most efficient path, because there's not just one path. How do you know that? Do you remember? There's a point in the article that talks about this. How do we know that there's not just one way to get from plane A to plane B? There's a word in the article. Let me find it for you. Dum, da, dum, dum, dum. Should be on the second page, I think. Even I've lost it. Right there in the middle, actually. Okay, if you're looking, and I'll draw your attention to two other things as well. One other thing. Here in the page, right, look at this paragraph here. So it's half a paragraph, 1, 2, 3. And at the bottom of that, the last sentence, it says, the system has a 20% redundancy. What does redundancy mean? Redundancy. In this context, what do you think it means?
When something isn't vital.
That's right. Something isn't vital, or something is repeated. So in this system, what that means is, okay, there's multiple paths that could work. If one path breaks down, it's not like, oh no, all the packages can't go through, they'll just go through a different path. Now, on that note, while I've got the article here and I'm showing it to you, have a look at those three paragraphs there. 1, 2, 3, okay? Those were the only paragraphs you needed to draw your data flow diagram. All the rest of the stuff had nothing to do with it, okay? And you know it says, because as containers are unloaded, right, that's how it starts. And then that third paragraph says, the entire sorting process from unloading to reloading takes about blah, 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 blah. So you can see it starts and then it finishes. So anyway, if you're frustrated that the article was long and you couldn't find all the right information, it was long, but you had to be able to identify where was the right spot. Okay, so 1 DSS for zip code recognition, 2 for the conveyor sorting system working out the right path, 3 probably for the automatic weighing of those completed ULDs, right? That's done automatically. Okay, now, where could you add some DSSs in there, right? Well, probably the weather staff, right? They're people who are employed to do that. Maybe you could have a system, an expert system introduced for that, right? Now, if you said expert system, but you didn't tell me, well, what's the expert system going to do? I can't award marks because it doesn't demonstrate understanding. It demonstrates ability to copy notes, which is helpful, but not enough to actually reward marks, right? You might also have mentioned that the HR staff, human resources staff, the ones who work out, oh, we're going to have to employ more people here, less people here, that process maybe could be done automatically because a lot of that, it's sort of There's patterns that can be determined by an artificial neural network, that kind of thing, right? And there's more answers here. I think you can read that yourself. Okay. Yes. Yay is the right word. Let's get on to social and ethical issues, right? Now, again, 4 marks. 4 marks tends to be the typical. I tend to think of 4 if I can think of at least 8. I can't remember how many we worked out in this case, but you had to have the pluses and the minuses, right? Again, changing nature of work was a really free, easy one, which went both ways. Is a plus and a minus, so it's easy to mention that one. One that was forgotten, I thought was a really cool one, right? Is that without Worldport, without this whole facility, you really can't do international commerce with the kind of efficiency that's possible today, that you can just order something online and it will come in a reasonable amount of time, right? It's facilities like Worldport which make that possible, okay? So I think that's pretty amazing. Now, let's have a look at this one. High degree of accuracy. Now, again, I'm pointing out this one because it's a positive. I think it's a positive. Some people said it was a negative. They said, this is crazy, it's dangerous, robots are doing everything, they're going to make so many mistakes. Well, let's think about how many mistakes they're making, because the article says so. It says in that article, that paragraph there, 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph down, a 99.9994% accuracy rate. So, 0.0006% of the time they make a mistake. Now, if you call that, as some of you did, a really high prevalence of errors, then you have really crazy high standards. If I made 0.0006% of errors on, like, say, the maths exams that I did, I'd be like, I'm Stacey Law, okay? That's an amazing level of accuracy. So accuracy really should have been a plus. Okay, really should have been a plus. If you said it was a negative, you needed to do some pretty fancy justifying work to say, yes, this is an incredibly inaccurate system, okay? If you justified it, I might have given it to you, but I don't think anyone was able to prove it substantially, okay? Let's look at some of the negatives. Now, the ergonomics risks, that was a good one. I think about half of you mentioned that one. It's very good because this continual looking at screens, that's an ergonomics problem, right? So that's an easy one to pick up. In fact, it often comes up, but you needed to say, look, it's an ergonomic risk because of the screens. You couldn't just say there's increased risk of ergonomics, right? Does that make sense? Can you see if I just say that, it's just like, well, I'm just copying that off my notes, which say ergonomics is an issue sometimes, right? You have to relate that to the question, yeah? Okay, yeah, I think most of you got the rest of that. That's quite fun.